breaking news from KHQA.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Carson Gordy. Thank you for spending your Sunday evening with us. We begin tonight with breaking news. President Joe Biden officially exiting the race for the White House, throwing his support behind Vice President Kamala Harris. Here's national correspondent Kayla Gaskins.
After weeks of mounting pressure from his own party, following the poor debate performance, Joe Biden stepping down from the top of the ticket.
It is time to pass the torch so that we can have our best chance of winning in November.
The announcement made Sunday afternoon on social media. Joe Biden posting a letter to his personal accounts that reads in part, "While it has been my intention to seek re-election, I believe it is in the interest of my party and the country for me to stand down."
I'm emotional because I am still riding with Biden. I still support my president.
In a follow-up post, he gave Vice President Kamala Harris his full endorsement as heir apparent to the nomination. The president making it clear he plans to serve the rest of his term. Donald Trump responding to the news on Truth Social, writing, "Crooked Joe Biden was not fit to run for president and is certainly not fit to serve." CNN reporting Trump thinks Kamala Harris will be easier to beat. House Speaker Mike Johnson demanding Joe Biden resign immediately. Earlier in the day, Johnson saying this to CNN.
It's an interesting question, Jake. If he's incapable of running for president, how is he capable of governing right now? I mean, there is 5 months left in this administration. It's a real concern, and it's a danger to the country.
President Biden spent the past week secluded in Delaware recovering from COVID-19, reportedly growing increasingly furious as top Democrats like Nancy Pelosi and Barack Obama flaked on their support. For weeks, Democrat megadonors expressed concerns over Biden's ability to do the job, some withholding donations, fueling alarm among party leaders. As the pressure increased, Democrats began preparing for a potential Kamala Harris run should she end up as the nominee. An effort reportedly underway to vet who could run as her vice president. Kamala Harris releasing a statement saying, "I am honored to have the president's endorsement, and my intention is to earn and win this nomination." Even with Biden's endorsement, Kamala Harris faces an uncertain path. The Democratic convention in Chicago, which starts August 19th, could be an open contest rather than a coronation. The nearly 4,700 delegates picking who they want to put up against Donald Trump this November. In Washington, I'm Kayla Gaskins.
Republicans here in the state of Illinois are also starting to weigh in on Biden's decision. Aaron Del Mar, spokesperson for the Illinois Republican Party, says he's not surprised at Biden's decision. However, he does feel like it sparks many questions.
If he feels so strongly that he was not going to drop out any earlier and that he had the cognitive ability to continue on for his campaign that he had after the debate. I mean, he dug in pretty hard right after the debate. They dug in very hard. There was no daylight that he was going to be in this race. And then for all of a sudden for him to change gears and drop out, I question, is he still able to be president of the United States right now in his capacity for the next 5 months?
Mar says that he felt like the Republicans were confident that they could beat President Biden. However, they are bringing in a new candidate, and they're going to have to evaluate their strength. However, he says he does feel confident that the Republicans can beat Vice President Kamala Harris. An Illinois Democrat United States Senator Tammy Duckworth today issuing the following statement regarding President Joe Biden. In quote, she said, "No one has done more for working Americans than Joe Biden, and so many of us owe him a debt of gratitude from everything he's done to improve our country." This difficult decision ensures that Democrats can focus on the goal that unites each and every one of us, defeating Donald Trump and preventing another 4 years of his destructive chaos and corruption, end quote. And Missouri State Senator Eric Schmidt says the following about Joe Biden about suspending his campaign. He says, in quote, "Joe Biden's time in elected office is far past its expiration date. Biden's 3.5-year tenure in the White House has brought Americans crushing inflation, an abysmal foreign policy record, and a vastly unchecked expansion of the administrative state. Americans are ready for new leadership. If Joe Biden isn't fit enough to serve as a candidate after the primary, he is not fit enough to serve as president now," end quote. And with the President Biden's decision to withdraw coming just a month under the Democratic National Convention, many are wondering what's going to happen to all those delegates that supported Biden as the nominee. Ken Redfield, a former political science professor at the University of Illinois Springfield, says those delegates will now be uncommitted.
once he is no longer a nominee, he says, I'm not going to run, then all of his delegates become uncommitted delegates. And so we're now shifting the decision, to the convention, but instead of them ratifying the decisions that were made in the individual states as they went through the primary process, all of those delegates then would come to the Chicago, but they would be uncommitted delegates.
Redfield added that if other people other than Vice President Kamala Harris want to step forward, then it will be open to the delegates and it would act as a mini primary. Candidates would then go to the bigger states where the delegates are possible and perform debates among themselves to fight for the nomination. And stay with KHQA News as we continue to follow this breaking news. Go to KHQA.com for the latest information. Good evening, everyone. I'm Carson Gordy. Thank you for spending your Sunday night with us. First, in a monumental move, President Joe Biden announces he will drop out of the 2024 race. In a statement today, Biden touted his accomplishments within his first term, but he says he believes it's in the best interest of his party and the country to end his campaign. He says he will focus on the rest of his term and that he will provide more details on his decision later this week. It follows weeks of speculation and mounting pressure within the Democratic Party after the first presidential debate, when Biden's performance raised concerns over his ability to serve another 4 years. Biden is 81 years old, already the oldest sitting president. Donald Trump's running mate J.D. Vance is calling on President Biden to immediately resign. The Ohio Republican says not running for re-election would be a clear admission that Biden is not mentally fit for office. Vance's comments comes as he transitions into a more active role in Trump's re-election campaign as the Republican vice presidential nominee. He warmed up the crowd for the former president at a rally in Grand Rapids, Michigan Saturday. He'll be delivering remarks at a hometown rally in Middleton, Ohio tomorrow. And folks are already celebrating the possibilities of a Harris presidential ticket.
We love Joe Biden, and I think he's done a tremendous, selfless act for the greater good of the country. I think it was time, and he passed the torch, to the right person. Kamala, we're going to be here for you. We're going to support you, and we're going to get you through the finish line.
People made signs and started chanting near the Naval Observatory in D.C., putting them right near the gate. That's where the vice president lives. Jackie Boland says she wants the VP to know she's supported when she comes home. An independent candidate, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., is calling on Democrats not to rush into naming Kamala Harris their new nominee automatically. He says there should be neutral polling for delegates to consider. Otherwise, they're just presenting the illusion of democracy. He compared it to Russian elections. The lifelong Democrat left the party early in the race, claiming that the DNC was rigging the race for Biden, making it difficult for anyone to challenge the incumbent. Kennedy says the choice now comes down to money and the Democratic elite, as Harris is the only one who can tap into Biden campaign funds. Kennedy is currently polling around 9% in the latest 538 data. That comes up against Trump's 43% and Biden's 40%. With President Biden's decision to withdraw coming just under a month before the Democratic National Convention, many are wondering what's going to happen with this election. Our Carolina Hassett sat down with a former political science professor to see what happens next.
President Biden officially announcing he is stepping down in the race for the White House. But with this comes many questions, especially heading into the convention. One of those being what is going to happen to all of the delegates that supported Biden as a nominee.
All of his delegates become uncommitted delegates. And so we're now shifting the decision, to the convention.
This now posing the question as to who those delegates are going to support. President Biden has already endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris to be the new nominee.
She is the only person that steps forward. When you get to the convention, anybody can collect signatures and get their name put on the ballot.
However, what if other candidates would like to step forward? Then it would be up to those candidates to showcase themselves to the delegates.
Essentially, it would be an audition. So candidates would go to the big states because that's where the big delegates are. There might be, say there were 3 people contesting. You might have a debate among those 3 people.
That was Carolina Hassett reporting. Redfield believes this would not likely create a lot of political change in the state of Illinois. And with President Biden stepping aside, an Adams County Democrat is confident that the party can rebound and knock off the former president in November. Catherine Daniels of the Adams County Democratic Party expects Vice President Kamala Harris to win the party's nomination and the general election. Daniels thinks Harris's relative youth compared to Trump will be an advantage this fall.
There are so many people that are really hungry for yes, younger leadership. I think she's got the energy, I think she's got the knowledge, and she's got the ability to lead us forward and into a better America.
We've reached out to the Adams County Republican Party, but we're not able to get a comment. Continuing in our reaction to Biden backing out of the race, we wanted to hear your thoughts and reactions to the announcement. Here are a few comments from our Facebook post. One viewer stated, "I support this decision. I just hope the Democrats now nominate a candidate I can vote for. As an independent, I'm still waiting for a candidate I can vote for. Up until now, I was voting third party or voting a write-in because I will not vote for Trump or Biden. Time will tell who I vote for." Another viewer says, "I am MAGA all the way, but he may have been the lesser of two evils. Now, I'm even more worried about our country." And stay with KHQA News as we continue to follow the breaking news. Go to KHQA.com for the latest information.